Welcome. This is Dr. Kurt Johnson, the host of The Convergence on Voice America. And we're really happy to be here today to continue the conversation that we began in episode 2 on spiritual practice. And as many of you remember, our guests on that episode were Father Thomas Keating, Locke Kelly, Ken Wilber, and Elena Brower, and Karuna. And we're so happy then today, as we promised, to have Karuna and Elena back for a video discussion about all things yoga. So these actually follow on some discussions we just did a bit ago, which you'll also find here with Karuna and Shiva Ray. So let's do this. Let's have each of Elena, starting with Elena, and then Karuna say hello. Welcome each other, welcome the audience, and just a little bit about who you are, where people can find you, and then I will throw out the first discussion question.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Kurt. My name is Elena Brower. I have been teaching yoga since 1999, teaching meditation for the past, let's say, 10 years. I relish my job as a mother first, and then I am a yoga teacher. I am an author, speaker, leader, entrepreneur, philanthropist. That is my proud resume at the moment. I love teaching. I relish the opportunity to talk about yoga because it's played such a huge role in my own life. And I just want to say once again, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. So Karuna ji, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Again, it's so great to be back and to be with my dear sister, Elena. She means so much to me. She brings the giggle out in me. And anyone who can do that, I'm sold in a half a second. So thank you, sis, for being here. I know you're very busy, and we're so blessed to have you on the planet doing what you're doing. And you too, Kurt, thanks for having me back. Such a beautiful place to be able to speak and to honor the teachings of Yogi Bhajan and Guru Ram Das, who restores broken destiny and brings us back to the miracle of who we are, our authentic voice. So how do we find that? Through practice, through long devotional awareness and opening of the heart, consistently opening of the heart on a daily basis. So between Elena, Shiva, myself, and all the other great, not that I'm great, but the great yoga teachers out there.
You are great, excuse me.
I want to humbly thank you for enjoying the Kundalini yoga practice and understanding that my purpose with Light on Kundalini and to build the app that we're working on right now and filming every class, and humbly bowing to the presence of the practice. I'm just grateful to be here. I'll be going to the European Yoga Festival in a couple of weeks, sharing the practice with 4,000 people and teaching. So I'm on a slope that's heading up. So I'm humble to be here. Thank you.
Sounds great. Well, so a big shout out and a big hug then to everybody in the global yoga communities. Also mentioning I serve on the UN Committee for International Yoga Day. So it's great to be in the thick of it. So right then over to Elena on this question, why the passion of yoga in your life, in anyone's life, and why it's so important in the world today as a transformative process. So Elena.
The way that I see it, yoga is here to help us get back to our original nature, which is happiness, contentedness. There isn't really a particular practice out there aside from yoga that's meant to kind of strip away all the veils. And by yoga, I mean including the meditation practice, which is the real yoga in ancient teachings, to really strip away all of the misunderstandings that we constantly sustain in our minds, all of the doubts, all of the fears, all of the misperceptions. Yoga is meant to strip away all of it, to reveal what is left at the source of it, which is just a happy, contented sense of love in every person, no matter who or what you are. And for the practice, for me, is really about what is the efficacy of the practice when I'm finished practicing? How present can I be for my family? How calm can I be when I'm feeling confronted? How easeful can I be when I feel like I'm in the presence of a strong difficulty, a strong tragedy? Those are the questions that I ask when I am talking about the efficacy of a practice for anyone, including myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no doubt whether we continue on the discussion that Locke and Father Keating and Ken had about just the whole internal life in general, let alone the embodiment of that in a yoga practice, that it's a whole different world once we shed this idea of who we thought we were and we start to understand who we really are in this more cosmic, divine, universal consciousness self that we all carry. So Karuna, coming from a tradition that is so steeped in that, Yogi Bhajan, Guru Ram Das, what do you have to say about all that? Why yoga is your passion and yoga as a passion and as a practice?
Well, it's daily, it's moment by moment, like choosing a blue to put on today. I ask myself why, and then it has all these rivers and these little etchings of the planet and of all in the world, the universe that we live in. And so I thought, oh, wow, this is a really amazing, journey we're on. And we're going down these flows of these rivers. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday, when you block the Ganga, when you put a stone or you put a dam and you block the Ganga, the Mata Ganga in India, it doesn't flow, and nor do we. So we're all intertwined in this practice. So if we can just add the union, the yoke of the yoga to the source of our awareness, and understand that when Elena said, when we're in difficulties and challenge, hey, can we sit in that and be grounded in that and go, oh yeah, oh, this is why I do the yoga. Let's see how good I am during this process and this challenge. And let's really feel where that's really poking, provoking, and confronting me. And then let's see if we can take the meditation and elevate it. Let's see if we can remember from our toolkit this meditation. Oh yeah, that's the one we did where we just did Satanama, or we did Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo Namo, and that just cleared the path. So, the sutra for this year in the white tantric is the cosmos, call on the cosmos. And I hear so many teachers right now in every path, every walk of life, calling on the cosmos, because we have so been reliant on those diplomats and those politicians to step up and take care of us. And yet they have shown us we're not here to do that. So where do we go and how do we open up? And so that's the revelation I feel every day through the sadhana practice, through the early morning practice. And so if I work on myself, then I can go out and present a teaching every day. If I don't work on myself, big change. I have no reason to even leave the front door, honestly, unless I've done a substantial, even if it's 3 minutes, it's substantial. I'm not talking 2.5 hours, although that would be ideal. But, whatever comes through at that moment, just like what you choose to put on your skin, where are you going with the depth of, is it really going in or is it superficial and just staying on the outside? So like Elena used strip away, I like to seep in and relish in the strength, the courage that it takes to say, no, thank you, I'm not participating at this time. So at this time means, let me just see if I can have a breakthrough in 40 days. So that's the technology and the science behind Kundalini Yoga that actually never promises anybody anything, but yet gives you an elevated state by the time you end that 90-minute class or that 3-minute meditation. You can get there. You can cut right through. So Yogi Bhajan said, 22 years, we don't have it any longer. To master a practice, you can master a practice in 1 year with Kundalini Yoga if you just keep practicing. And it's adding Elena's practice, adding Sean Korn's practice. I mean, when Sean taught a class the other day, I was like, I came in all white, petticoats and everything. I couldn't even open my legs to do the lunges, sweating, in the heat of Colorado. And it was just hilarious. And she came over and said, "How are the kids?" And I was like, "I love you." It's just like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, where you are, just go and practice. And no matter what condition, all of a sudden you use your white clothing and your petticoats as your towel. You just find a way through every block. So.
Yeah, so over to Elena, it's so interesting because in the long run, people figure out, usually after a bit of the school of hard knocks, that this ought to be about their well-being. And maybe they've never even thought about their birthright to well-being before. But this sense of stability and the feeling and knowing of why you're here and that deep well-being. So Elena, back to you.
I think the most important way that I can look at my practice, and I practice Kundalini, I practice Para Yoga, I practice just Hatha Yoga, Katona Yoga. All of these are means to help me show up in my relationships in the most constructive and beneficial way. And if I'm doing that, I'm free. I'm free from the patterns that hold me back. I'm free from assuming that other people are in some destructive pattern. I'm free from all of the judgment and the fear that come along with any sort of daily existence. I use the practice, and my prayer is that may all of us use the practice to show up for our lives in a beneficent, constructive way, so that all of the people around us, whether they practice yoga or not, can be set free by our presence in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a nice recapture of Ken Wilber's message here in episode 1 of Wake Up, Grow Up, Clean Up, and Show Up. And your life is very different after you've done the closet cleaning, which you wake up that you need to do. So
the world is a better place.
Very different place. So Karuna, back to you.
Well, it was really sweet. Yesterday I had my little nephew, 8 years old, and he's very shy in the beginning, but eyes wide open, because these kids, they can see the glow. They see the difference, right? So big football family comes to visit, and nephew, and it's so sweet when the nectar is going to eventually flow in and he's going to be right on your lap, right? You hope that anyway. And he was, and it makes you extremely cozy because you have that loving ability to offer something. And, we ended up on the floor doing, easy pose and half a lotus and triangle pose, just little things, and how to just sit. 8 years old, they're like that. 8 years old, and then when you give them that, they're like, oh my God, and their eyes open up and you see their youth and their beauty, and, and it's just, so it's every day blessing. You go day to day, you don't know where you're going to end up in the end of that day. But, just like India, when you go to India, you have to prepare yourself. The minute you step out of your ashram door, the whole world's going to change in front of you. And what makes you resilient and ready? And also the opposite of that with the spiritual, what do we call that, Kurt? When people really start to believe they are the teacher and they are the one to deliver and the Almighty comes through me. And so there's really such a divine fine line of, where am I in this? Like these rivers on my glass, where am I in this? And can I just consistently flow into this and welcome new practice all the time? Jump in anyone's class all the time. Be ready because what happened after that class was a humongous breakthrough, of just and sitting with my little Brody, just a wonderful breakthrough for him. He became very curious about, what is it in Coca-Cola? Really? It has, gasoline and, because some of these kids, they're raised. And so I think it's really important to be able to deliver with courage and strength to people that don't have any clue what you're doing and why you're so, all about the health and all about the food and all about the prana. You feel the prana in the food. Otherwise, let's just skip the meal, and bless it. So
absolutely. So Elena, when we're talking about how the experience of any spiritual practice that comes with these types of gifts, how it becomes such a turnaround in everyone's life, how you see that, how you've seen that in your students, and then why that's your life's work now to bring that to people. How would you kind of summarize that and put that in a nutshell if we're going to kind of wind up this part of the conversation with some last little epitaphs on what we've been chatting about?
I think the first priority of any practice is a tranquil mind, period. Anything that we can do to move ourselves in that direction, to help recognize that the manifestations of others and of ourselves that are unsavory and difficult to manage, they're all just misunderstandings. And to get us back to a tranquil mind through the practice, whatever it happens to be, whether it's breath work or movement or a lunge or a meditation or arms in the air or chanting, whatever it is, does it bring me back to a tranquil mind? And does that tranquil mind translate into how I'm behaving in my family? Those are the questions that we want to ask of our practice.
Yeah, how to be here and how to have that be super okay. How to feel so grounded in the okayness of being here and feeling that in the most visceral way. So, Karuna, what would you say about that as a sign off?
Add to that brilliant thought and understanding is that we're human, as teachers, we're human beings, and of course we're chameleon in a way where we feel and we'll take all that. I've always wished that for everyone, though, to have the experiences I've been blessed to have. I've always wished that, but then I don't wish when I go through my dark night of the soul, I don't wish that upon anyone, but then I'm so grateful and that I'm strong enough to get through the dark night of the soul and then to reap the benefit the next day of the dark night of the soul, or the next 3 weeks, the dark night of the soul, that just really, can last 4 hours. It can last days. So it's not just necessarily a Kundalini Yoga awakening at all. It's not that. And it's so easy to throw things on your practice and then don't show up again. Because
it's interesting that
it's that. And it's not, it's us. It's our authentic self. Just need, and we're actually blessed. When people go through heartbreak or relationship, it's actually somebody's paying attention to me, to move me. Yes, it's very hard to get rid of these attachments, and the suffering is so deep, but how is it that I'm so blessed to actually have it happen to me? So how can we reverse the role of this is the most, terrible thing in my life as to, but this is the biggest blessing of my life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Yogi Bhajan talks about neutral mind. And Surya Das, in his discussion with me, was saying that when you're on a roller coaster at the theme park and having a great time, you don't think of up as good and down as bad. So, we have to learn this mastery, like you said, with all the dynamics in our lives, to be okay with that balance and all of the different dimensions that it has, like in music, from adagio to scherzo, and we're going to have both in our lives. So let's let Elena sum up here. If you were going to kind of sign us off of this part of our discussion with some real final words to all of our listeners about that part of yogic practice, how would you kind of sum that up, and then we'll move on?
I think to define neutral mind as a state in which your body is holding no tension with any of it is an important distinction to have. When we're looking at the practice, again, no matter what the practice, no matter what tradition or what teacher, does it bring me back to a neutral mind in which my body is holding no tension with any of it? That is a really important understanding to host and hold in our bodies, and will, as I said before, positively infuse all of our relations with the practice.
That's so great. So you've been listening now on Voice America on the Convergence to Karuna and Elena Brower talking about yoga and all that's in that gifts that it brings. And we're going to be back again with another segment in a moment that we're really looking forward to, asking each of them to share some practices with us. So Karuna and Elena, thank you so much. And we'll sign off for now, and we'll be back again in just a moment.